don't even know what that is. What are all these things? So many buttons. I just can't keep up. Hi, it's Saturday morning, and this is the Art of Rock. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge the Tonga people as being the traditional landowners of Hollywood, California. Indeed, Los Angeles, California. Um, every Saturday we're here doing Art of Rock things where we're going to talk about overcoming bloody writer's block and all of that sort of fun stuff. We're on Angelspit's Twitch and Angelspit's YouTube. Nothing but bloody gold for you. This is brought to you by Angelspit's Patreon. You can join for free or throw me as little as $3 a month to help keep me going. Thank you. Sincerely. Thank you. Please remember, check out Vulture Culture's deep dive into synthesizers on Wednesday nights. I'm always wearing the shirt. Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I'm not always there to watch it, but I do watch them afterwards, and they're great synthesizer deep dive things. After this, we're going to shoot on over to MTV TV because it's amazing. Non-stop darkness from the bleeding edge, non-stop music videos, dark, crazy stuff on Twitch. Check it out. If you're concerned about how this great country of the United States is going, join a group like Indivisibles and they'll help you focus and learn about your rights and all that sort of fun thing. So you can. Democracy is a work in progress, guys. It requires maintenance. Every single country. It's legal and it's constitutional. Thanks to Rezi, who's not actually, well, hopefully will be ducking in as being the amazing co-host that holds the fort down when I'm not holding the fort down at all. And these are the amazing human beings who are joining us today, hopefully. Alex, your camera isn't working. Welcome to the Outer Rock. So I want to start off by Adapt Manipulate brought up a really great question about putting your studio together. Does anybody want to shoot their mouths off about putting your Brett, you've got some ideas about this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I've been at this for a minute and have probably made every mistake you can make in putting a studio together. Couple things right off the bat. If you're messing with synthesizers, knowing the difference between line and acoustic recording is going to be something that you need to pay attention to. If you need to record the room, for example, you need to do more stuff. You need to do sound dampening, things like that. Don't have hard parallel surfaces facing each other, or hard surfaces parallel to each other. That's a recipe for feedback and not the good kind. The other things are really simplify your workflow. Make things like MIDI interfaces and things like that bring everything to a spot and then into a DAW. Huge helps. And what it all gets down to is that way the complexity can be at the instrument and not in the wiring, and you're not trying to sit there and okay, I want to plug this in. You're not having to plug any instruments up. In other words, you just turn them on and play. That is for me a major time saver. With that said, have a good, if you're going to use a DAW, don't cheap out on your DAW. Give it the memory, basically build a gaming system, and a good one. You need fast CPUs, and you need lots of RAM. In a nutshell, that's going to condense most of what you need. In my own studio now, you're looking at years and years of building this. What I have is a half rack. I literally cut it in half. It was an old telecom rack. In there, I have stacked my mixer, my MIDI interface, another mixer, and some rackable effects. Everything in this studio comes to it first. That way, any source I want, I'm in the DAW, I select that channel, and I go. when you have cables and such that you have to plug in and remove, one of the things that happens is oxidation, and you also stress out those little, you stress out the actual jacks themselves. Quarter-inch jacks are more susceptible to this than XLRs. XLRs, if you can get away with those, are a bit more stable, but you still have to watch out for oxidation. Buttons and knobs are nice, but buttons and knobs come with oxidation problems as well. If you can get rid of those, and it's my opinion that you do so, you're just reducing noise. That's a couple things to get the ball rolling anyway.
Thank you very much. Oh, bro, wow. Yeah, this is a big one. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Alex, what are your thoughts?
So the first question one should ask is, sorry. Of course, I stunk out in my throat. The first question one should ask is a studio for what? Because a studio can begin with like an audio interface, a pair of headphones, and a MIDI keyboard and a computer. That's like the most basic music making setup. Maybe you don't even need an audio interface if you're just using VSTs in the box and your computer has a decent output for your headphones. Or you're using, I don't know, headphones with a USB-C jack. For synthesizers and maybe recording larger things, I would suggest getting either an audio interface or directly mixer with audio interface capabilities and get more channels than you think you need at the moment. So if you think you need 4, get 8 or get 12. And maybe if you can, try to buy used, but I can imagine if you're just starting out, it's difficult to know which gear is in working order and such. So that might be maybe in this situation you either go to someone who knows more about it or just buy new. Yeah, and then I think don't be afraid to use things that are out of fashion because they're usually cheap and work almost as well.
Brilliant. Thank you. Ivan, you go first, then I'll go on a rant.
Yeah, building a studio is a big phrase. It's already been proven. Yeah, so the big question is like, what is the end goal, and how much effort is one willing to put into it? Because if the end goal is I want to do something big and I want to be able to master at home and blah blah blah, then the effort's going to have to be big. Like game over. Like you just there is no choice. Also, what do we mean by studio? Like really it comes down to what do we mean by studio? Because like, you could, just have a computer and a pair of headphones in a closet and call that your studio. Or, you could have a bunch of like analog outboard gear that you like do your own mixing and mastering through. And suddenly like your room's got sound treatment just so that, your playback sounds right. That's also a studio. And that is a big gnarly subject. Okay, I'm setting my part.
Thank you. Am I okay to? I'm gonna go. So in 1932, the Sydney Harbour Bridge was opened March 19th. I actually just know that date, 1932, March 19, I think. Crazy thing about the Sydney Harbour Bridge is that when it was built, because they built it to last 100 years or a very long bloody time. And when they built it, it's got 8 lanes of traffic on it. I think 8 lanes and 2 train tracks. It's fucking massive. It's a big structure. It goes for half a kilometer, 500 meters, which is 1,500 feet. Great bridge. Fucking great bridge. The coat hanger. But when they first built it, there was hardly any traffic. what do you need 8 lanes of traffic for? And because the guy that built it had the foresight to go, or the team that built it had the foresight to go, well, if it's going to last 100 years and cars are becoming the way cars are becoming, and trains and everything else, we're going to have to build something with forward vision, because this thing's going to be chockers, Australian word meaning full, in no time at all. It's going to be chockers, chock-a-block. So firstly, take the word with you, chockers, which means when something is full, when you've had too much food, oh, mate, I'm chockers. There's a traffic jam, traffic's chockers. Great word. Also, the Sydney Harbour Bridge is referred to as Rob, the coat hanger. Affectionately referred to as the coat hanger because it looks like a coat hanger. Anyway, it's really similar with, and hey to everybody in the bloody chat right now. Welcome so much. It's really important to take the lesson and go, if you set up a studio, you probably won't change it for 4 or 5 years. Because it's a pain in the ass to change. It really fucking is. So you've got to have foresight to say, well, I might just have a computer and a keyboard at this stage, but in 4 or 5 years, I might have a rack of synthesizers here and a modular here. So think about that. The other thing you have to think about is that you need a seated economic space to do this. You need to sit, you need to swivel, and you need to roll if that's what you're into. It's very important, I think, to have at least a foot or a foot and a half, really a foot and a half, behind absolutely everything so that you can crawl behind everything and fucking maintain it. Because let me tell you, buy yourselves a pair of knee pads and a headlamp because you're going to need it. Also have some screwdrivers, all different sizes, because you're going to need them. Learn how to solder, but it's going to be basic stuff probably because you're going to need to. Studio is all about maintenance, and it's so funny. Once every 4 or 5 years, you might want to go, okay, it's time to pull everything out, put it over there, or every time you move, you will be amazed at the amount of cables and everything else that builds up behind everything that don't get used because you didn't pull it out, or you think, oh, I might need it for later. 5 months later, it's still there and you've forgotten why it was there in the first place. Try to always, if you don't need it, pull it out. And as you acquire gear, and my advice on acquiring gear is get stuff that matters, get stuff that's good. Don't buy 3 cheap versions because you want that amazing synthesizer. Save up for the amazing synthesizer because 3 crap shitty synthesizers are more expensive than 1 really good synthesizer. Spend time researching that synthesizer, and just like Alex said, there's nothing wrong with the secondhand market. In fact, I kind of also encourage the secondhand market. I have much more to say on this, but Alex, what else do you want to say about this?
Maybe a piece of advice I see often is that people who have money go ham wire, I think that's the right word, and just keep buying stuff without having a clue. So if you start a studio, focus on one piece of gear and then learn it first before you buy the second one. Because you'll end up with a setup, you have no idea how it works. You spend up more time debugging your setup than actually making music. So maybe get, I think good pieces to start are groove boxes or keyboards that have like drum capabilities, or maybe get like a keystep and a keyboard that can also play drums. Yeah, I think like the Novation circuits are great, and also Roland has a small keyboard which has like a groovebox-like capability. So if you do hardware, that would be one route to go to start. Or get an old Rumpler.
For sure. Thank you. Did you want to add anything to that? You've mentioned some things in there that I think all of us are probably going to have a pick up on those points. Brett, for now, what are you thinking?
So literally kind of picking up on that. So the DX7 wasn't my first synthesizer. Honestly, this was my first full-size synthesizer. My first synthesizer was actually the DX100, which is almost identical. It does have a much better sample and hold, though. I'll just throw that out there for whatever. Also, Mr. Casio over here was in my original stack. Neither of these did drums, so that's where the Alesis SR16 sitting right here came into play. During those days, we're talking 80s. Jeez. I'm running everything was used. I had a used Atari computer. I think the 1040, something like that. It was all SCSI. I ran Cakewalk. It was like Cakewalk. It was before they ever got to like the Sonos and all that other stuff. It was just Cakewalk. And literally everything stood on a single. I built it. I turned a table over and nailed more boards to it until it could hold synthesizers. It was hacker as hell. And all of that, you ran into all the problems with cable management, because you got to get sound out and it's got to go somewhere. Plus, you're recording the MIDI. When I would record audio, those would go to actually a 4-track. And I would have to take all the synths and mix them to get a synth track, so there'd be enough room for the guitar and the bass, and then of course you would eat up 4 channels on a cassette tape pretty quick, even if you're bouncing tracks. So it ended up becoming one of those things where one of the most important lessons I did learn, which Alex also mentioned, and so did you, Carl, is once you've kind of figured out the tools you want to work with, you got to pivot to investing in it. For me, that investment, I realized, was principally the DAW computer. It was the digital recorder. It replaced the 4-track. I could have more audio tracks. I could have more MIDI tracks. And so dumping that money there enabled everything else. It also simplified the cable mess. In this studio right now, what you can't see, because I've only got this camera, you see my principal work area right here. Everything's in arm's reach, and that's really important. I can fire off a song. I don't have to go hunting. It's all there. Right behind it is another U shape, if you will, where it meets the walls. And that's where I start running things like MIDI cables and audio cables. And that's where they connect back to the mixer right here. Outside of that is another layer of sound support. That's where I have like guitar amps. I have PA systems, things that I've collected over the years. Just, if you have a studio, you will get equipment. You may not even buy it. People are just going to bring it and leave it. And so what ends up happening, and what ends up being needed, is you need an area that can just kind of be a general non-creative workspace. Think of this like your mudroom. If you have one of those like coming into your house, your washing machine, your dryer might be there, but it's that thing that supports the rest of it. For me, there are a couple of large rolling tubs filled with cables and stuff that when I decide to change out any of this, I'll hit the toy box and start pulling out the cables I need and design it. What all of that goes to is at every section, you're leaving yourself room to work. And that's going to be outside of the investment, into the gear, into good gear. The next most important thing is just providing yourself the room to work. And that's where, it doesn't really matter if you're doing music or painting. All of that is needed by all studios.
Thank you. And I've been taking notes because there is so much here I want to talk about. Thank you. Ivan, hit me.
Yeah, Flock Audio makes a digitally controlled audio patch bay. which I keep looking at and thinking one of those would be nice, just because, now you've got a patch bay that will be there for you instead of just a patch bay. And that reduces the amount of like just fucking around with cables, because fucking around with cables is what results in dead cables like tracing the floor behind your gear being not used. And like I'm always trying to think of new, more advanced ways to manage new studio space on third floor, because I'll fully admit I started out with an Alesis 25 like key MIDI controller, and at the beginning it was just that and Ableton, because that was enough to just get started. But these days, like I've got a ton of old analog gear and my M1 and all of the like weird old fun stuff. And also the Eurorack is always going to be undersized and will always give me an opportunity to do more woodworking when it doesn't cause me to pull out my own soldering gun. Because like these are just things that are going to happen. Up on third floor, like the shape of the space I've got is good. The area of the space is very good. I can't wait to get up there. But yeah, no, I mean finding ways to manage your stuff in front of, in the on the front end, manage everything. Also, I would suggest, have a way to manage just like your spare cables. Having a good way to store your cables is good for you, and it's good for your cables. Particularly good for you though, because being able to just get to that cable when it's time is key. And cables turn into like a weird snarly mountain without trying. Like, there's monster seeds in them cables.
It's funny you say that, because my I have a drawer. Okay, is it all right if I? All right, thanks. I have a drawer, like a filing cabinet, and it takes like 4 people to move it because it's so full of electrical cables. I'm currently going through it. There is, and I mentioned this a few weeks ago, there's still parts in there from the Emulator 3 that I haven't owned in many, many years. It's full of stuff that I don't need, and I just forgot it was there. And I'm going through selling this stuff. Like there's a bunch of stuff that's broken. Great thing about Reverb is you can still sell broken stuff. You just say it's not functioning. People will try and fix it, whatever. So many cable parts that are not either not functioning or they've been half used or something like that. I've got so much to fucking talk about here. So my first question is also think about the mixing desk. Do you actually want a mixing desk with knobs on it, or do you want to get yourself a standalone 3 unit high thing that connects to an iPad? What do you want to do? Knobs and sliders are always more fun. Trust me on that, but you might not. So the question is, where is it going to go? And you might go, oh, well, I'm going to start with a 19-inch, like a Yamaha 01V or something like that. Well, make sure that there's a place for it economically to exist. Find out its dimensions, cut out a piece of cardboard and plop it there. Sit it on top of your rack, angle it up. So all you have to do is swivel to get at the thing. Putting it in front of your desk is problematic because desk monitor. Second question is, if you've got a main piece of gear, which in my case, it's the Emulator 4, that's sitting right here. Because if it's over there, I never fucking use the thing. If it's right here in front of me, I use it. Which is maybe why I don't really use much rack mount stuff in my setup. Curious. Remember that a computer keyboard has to go somewhere. If you're spending all this money on a fucking synthesizers and shit, buy yourself a nice computer keyboard too, because it's fun. Your mouse is going to need space. That's the first thing that goes is mouse space. So make sure it's a nice desk. You know, one of those desks that might have a couple of rack units in it and spend money on a desk. Trust me. A little drawer that rolls out that's got a little controller keyboard down here. You can get them on Craigslist free or for $50. Same with so many like rack spaces. They're so cheap on Craigslist. And in fact, look around Hollywood, people dump them. Um, uh, computer. Okay, whatever the length you think you need for cables, double it. Because just trust me, double it. Um, Also ask yourself the question, do you want to go analog connections or do you want to go optical or do you want to go Dante or other? Because you might actually say, well, I'm going to get a digital desk. It's going to sit there. And I'm going to start with an optical bus 8 in out. I'm going to stick one over there for the synthesizers, and I'm going to stick one over there for something, the modulars or whatever. Oh, that's really fantastic. My problem with Dante optical and everything else is, one, you have to fuck around. You do. Two, I don't know how long these things are going to stay usable for because so much ADAT stuff, it's out now. So much Firewire stuff, it's out now. So I don't know how long it's going to stay. And plus, if there's a software update, if there's a fucking, we've changed the way Dante works, blah, fuck it. Although you might want to pursue that. So I know like synth dudes who are far more amazing than I am. Everything is set up via Dante or they have a complete digital setup. I don't do that because as Brett knows, I fucking hate computers. I personally go analog. Everything's analog, connected by cables, because cables will always be around. Oh, it will be a dark day when synths are no longer shipped with cables. Fucking blah. Alex, what are your thoughts? Oh, hold on, was it? Yeah, that was it. Alex, talk to me.
If you have an a home keyboard, it might already be capable as a MIDI keyboard because the old ones sometimes have these MIDI DIN jacks, and the new ones have USB MIDI usually. So look out for that. So you might not need to start buying a MIDI keyboard if you already have one that's capable of doing that. They might not be the best one to play, but honestly, the cheapest MIDI keyboards aren't either. So
Okay. Ivan, I see your hand. I'm just going to jump in. Alex, that's such a good point. Also, if you got a chance to read these comments are amazing, guys. God, there's so much pain here, I can tell. That's such a really good point. It's not just like, are you going to be using MIDI? You've got to make sure that you've got a hub system that's can accept 5-pin DIN and USB. And then you've got to make sure you've got a MIDI translator that can also handle MIDI 2.0 because now increasingly there are devices that have got poly aftertouch and blah, 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 blah. That's such a good point. And that's the other thing as well, that if you go, I want a whole bunch of old gear, remember that you are interfacing with pre-1985. Yeah. Ivan, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, the standards for just moving the audio around has gotten complicated. I will say though that, like in a small studio, working from home, like ADAT is still your friend. It is a little bit of a pain, but it is still your friend. A lot of kind of like mid-tier audio interfaces will have ADAT included somewhere in the mix. Also, like I've got a Expert Sleepers ES9 and that does ADAT out. So I can send my entire like Eurorack mix out over ADAT, back to my computer instead of having to go over analog and having to eat up analog interfaces on my audio interface. Same time, I am also looking at upgrading my audio interface again avoid having to do that because it just gets expensive. So I started with one of the red ones, and that everybody's got. I had started with a Focusrite that clearly did not have enough inputs or outputs, and then I moved up to the Audio Fuse. Yeah, I've got Audio Fuse Studio, which has been a great audio interface. It's got 2 channels of ADAT for me, which is great. But it's still only 4 in, which was not nearly enough yet again. So I added a ADAT interface to it to bring more analog in, and now I've got 8 more analog ins. Those I'm not using up yet. And then the other ADAT interfaces for the Eurorack, which makes me happy because I use the heck out of my Eurorack. And I'm very seriously considering upgrading to the SSL 18 and then it's ADAT connected boxes, just to one, have more IO, and two, like better IO. So always buy an audio interface that is bigger than the one you think you need, because it will never stay the one as big as you need.
Coat hanger. Remember the coat hanger, Sydney Harbour Bridge. Because your problem
Exactly.
is that your system is chockers.
Quite.
Yeah.
And if I could roll back time, I would have just bought a bigger interface in the first place.
Yeah.
Would have been a slight increase in lane, not a big one.
Yeah. Bloody awesome. This is really fascinating because, stuff. Shit. What? Twitch. Also, okay, I just want to sidetrack for a minute. Lotus Night Owl, welcome. You asked a question before, and thanks for following me on Twitch, by the way. Monday nights, I'm doing a synth thing. I don't know if I'm going to bother because no one watches anymore. And plus, I listened back to the one I did last week, and it was like, this is terrible. Hell is awful. Some really cool ideas in there, but it's terrible. I can't fucking hear myself. So I can't, the vocals aren't getting mixed. And also there's a delay. I'm modulating the delay. So the vocals sound like they're seriously out of fucking tune. And I've got to know what I correct on my vocals. But even because the delays are making it sound like, dude, you are so fucking out of tune right now. It's kind of embarrassing. So I don't know if I'm going to keep doing it. But anyway, I'll get back to that. You asked a question, Lotus Night Owl, about setting up a beginner studio for yourself and your son with your keyboard, computer, and hand drums. Hand drums. Actually, every studio needs an egg. Egg with rice in it. And you have to put that on every single track. Brett's getting his egg. Brett's getting his egg. Brett's getting his egg. Eggs are fucking great, mate. Because seriously, they put a groove in every single thing you do, and claps, real actual claps. Do you have recommendations for a really basic setup for teens to get them into music production? Personally, I think just get Brett can't find his egg. I think and if you've got synthesizers, get a brush so you can brush the dust off and cover them, a piece of cardboard with a thing, an actual cloth over the top of it. Because if you have a cat, cats walk on your synthesizers. Another one.
I think they refer to that as playing.
Yeah, or pissing you off. I've made an interesting observation about cat language, by the way. But anyway, I will get back to this. Lotus Knight, did you notice how long it took me to answer this question? Just get a computer and a really basic interface. Start with that, because the question you really need to figure out is, do I want to invest a fuckload of time and money into this? That's the first question. And if you just a computer and you can get fuck, what's the name of that free software? Abacus something. What is it? Audacity. Get Audacity because it's free. And it's got free synthesizers in it, blah 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 blah. So if you can figure out that okay, I really want to freaking do this, you start building. And because of if you are at the beginning of your phase, when you get an interface, audio interface box, it might be like an M Audio or something quite inexpensive. And you might hold on to that for a few years until you've made your first kind of album. And you also might get a really cheap controller. And you might get a very cheap synthesizer. But once you go, okay, I'm doing this, then go for it. But then I looked back at my life and I knew that I was doing this when I was like 11. I had the synthesizer bug. Cakewalk is also free, said Brett. So yeah, if they're showing interest in it at 14, they'll still be into it when they're 54. So yeah. And also look, just being a bastard. So I learned the value of working by working in my parents' shop. We sell menswear. And I was paid awfully, but that's what kids were paid when I was a kid. And I saved up with my own money to buy my own synthesizers. My parents didn't give me synths. They were kind of really, I'm grateful that they did that. They taught me to work and then get it. And so I was spending everything on fucking synthesizers. And as I got older and I understood that, and this is relevant to me now, that synthesizers equate to rent space. These machines are renting space. So if they're not paying for their space, and whether that is the currency might be enjoyment, the currency might be money, the currency might be making cool shit online, the currency might be you escaping for 20 minutes, whatever that currency is, whatever their factor of worth is, you have to make sure they're paying their rent. And if they don't, on a reverb, I hope I answered your question. Ivan, your hand's up. Did you want to shoot your mouth off? Okay. Alex, I see your hand.
Yeah, if you buy an audio interface or a MIDI controller, sometimes they come with also recording software and production software. So you might use that. It's usually like a version with less features, but I think most of them are enough to finish tracks and to make music. Yeah, also I think good if you think you want to do it with hardware, those old Innovation circuits, not the current ones, but the previous ones used, are a really good way to go because they are approachable but offer you enough capability to finish tracks and do something that you can present on stage. Even though it might not even be the point for you to finish tracks and make music, that's okay too. Like you can just make bleep blop sounds and it's totally fine.
That's really interesting as well. Brett, I see your hand. That, you know, something you learn from music is the importance of finishing things, and also sometimes it's the importance of not finishing things too. And I think that because, if you're not finishing something, you're playing, and playing is very important because when you play, you're learning. Yes, when you're finishing something, you're learning too. I am very hardcore about you've got to finish the song, but sometimes songs are junk and sometimes you've got to throw them away. And that's an important thing for me to face, is that not every idea is going to become a song, and it's okay to know that. And also, sometimes you're just gonna muck around, and mucking around is just fine. Thank you, Alex. Did you want to add anything to that, or can I throw this to the Brettinator?
I was going to say something about different aspects of buying synthesizers in order to play with others, but I think that wasn't.
No, tell me.
If you want to play with others, you might want to get something with the keyboard attached. That's easy to transport, and in the best case scenario, also has like built-in speakers, or maybe get a little amp that you can carry with you, so you can make yourself heard while your friends are maybe playing acoustic guitar.
That's great advice. That really is. Thank you. Bro, what are you thinking?
So just kind of touching on Lotus Night Owl. I'm sorry if I got the name wrong, but when you are going with hand drums, this is something I've dealt with a lot. Hand drums are really kind of hard to capture their sound because of so many areas that they produce sound from. I'll give you a djembe as an example. The sounds that you can make just on the head of the djembe alone are just one timbre. But then, you know, of course, its entire design is to send it basically to the bell. And getting the actual, what your ears hear of that instrument versus what a microphone hears often takes either multiple mics or distance or something like that. I mean, basically, you're gonna have to mess around a lot, is what I'm saying, where it comes to recording hand drums. Couple of tips for clarity: mic the head. You're going to get a good bit of what you need from that. The richness, however, comes from the other end. So if you can reflect that back using things like boxes, I've done it that way. That's not great, but it works. It reflects the sound back to the microphone. If you can get some sort of parabola, that's even better. You know, big bowl. That's going to be really helpful in your path there. The other thing that Alex was mentioning in regards to having a keyboard, that's just something that it seems to be very innate, easy to understand. You want to bang on something, and all you really need for that to work is MIDI. It doesn't have to be a synthesizer, doesn't have to be great at any specific thing. If it can control a VST inside your DAW, then you can make it do anything else. You can trigger samples, you can trigger all kinds of stuff. And that's kind of what I meant about the controller board. Knobby units are great, but depending on their layout, they can be a little bit limiting. And I'll give you like my Akai Fire, for example. Yes, it can emulate a keyboard. Yes, it can emulate a drum machine. No, it doesn't do that as well as a keyboard or a drum machine. It is a good tool to quickly get the ball rolling and whatnot, but you're almost better served by a tool purpose-built for that job, even if the only thing you want from it is a MIDI trigger. So just a couple things to keep in mind there. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much. You know, it's crazy. Hey, Adapt, welcome. We were answering your question, Bird. Jump on in. It's really fascinating how, you know, when I think about when somebody goes, hey, look, young person wants to get into making music, and it's like there are so many different paths to, you know, it's funny how the creation of music is an extension of your human experience. For every person, they will lead completely different lives, and it's the same thing with the musical thing. where it's going to be completely different, totally fucking different. Bit same here, totally different in these places. This is great. Hold on. Started cannibalizing samples from older visual art projects to start new ones. Something. Awesome. I've lost count of how many times I've needed to write. Yep, totally. Hey, Brett, we were talking about songs that didn't work. Oh, Brett's got away. I should turn my hand down. I might just pivot for a second. And yeah, before we came on, we were having a discussion about how some songs just don't work. And, it's really funny that it's like, if you can imagine completing a song is like getting a small device thing, puck, across a finish line. My writing process is I will have 2 or 3 of these pucks or songs that I am edging towards this freaking finish line. Sometimes the bastards slide back because you listen back to it and go, oh, this is crap. Then you listen to another song you're working on and go, wow, that song's so good. How do I make these other songs sound better? And I'm having this right now, is that there's a song I'm working on. And I had this really cool chorus and I listened back, and for some reason I've just been going, this does not have it for me, because it's not fists in the air, fuck yeah. It's not, it's kind of really mamsy-pamsy. Maybe this is why I just can't write love songs, because it's a relationship song. And I was looking at it going, I just can't do this. Maybe it's because I'm a bastard and I can't feel anything. But if I'm going to write a relationship song, it's going to be between a cannibal and their meal, or it's going to be about between an oppressive government and some proletarian who's going fuck you. That's the relationships I'm interested in, which are abusive relationships. So anyway, yeah, it's really interesting. And for me, if I don't have the lyrics, it just doesn't work. And I was listening back to the bass line going, I think this works. I'm not sure because I'm so detracted by the music suck. The lyrics they're making me angry. How about a song about loving your cat? No. Respectfully, I do love Frank very much. Frank is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. But no, I just can't do it. I don't know why. I just can't write a love song because to me they just sound so tacky. But I don't know, like some of the most beautiful songs ever written are love songs. I don't know. I wish I could. But I do actually want to talk about cat language later. Alex, what do you want to talk about?
I think I could never set out to write a love song, but write a song, then discover in the process that it's a love song.
That's great. Thank you. Brett, what's your brain thinking?
So I feel you on the inability to write love songs. The closest I've ever gotten to that was a story I made up about a murderous relationship. Other than that, one of the things that Dee was saying there in the chat was cutting up artworks. And by the way, she showed me some of that last night, and it's cool stuff. It reminds me of another thing that I did, and this is something that I still kind of pull back from every now and then. All those sonic ideas that we build up and abandon over time, they're a lot of fun at a later point in time to sort of clean up the junk drawer, as you mentioned, Carl. Go back through them and just take a sample of them and then stitch them together like Frankenstein. And don't judge too harshly what comes out of it, because often it's pretty damn cool. And I had a track that I did that with that I called INFP after my psychological profile.
Thank you very much. Ivan, I invite you to go on a rant.
Rant. Anyways, have you ever considered singing in front of your cat and what that really does? Like we have these songs that we sing about our cats, and the whole time we're doing it, you know, they'll be looking at us like, dude, why are you singing about me? Stop that. Wait. Could you drop me off 2 blocks before we get to school and pretend that you weren't there? This is embarrassing. Stop it. Meanwhile, we do have a parrot upstairs, and he loves that sort of thing. He loves it a lot.
Wow. What kind of parrot?
Quaker.
Nice. You should sample him.
It's always sounding weird when you sample him. Then maybe that's the good part, though. Like, you hear him one way in the real world, but when he goes through a mic, he ends up sounding mechanical.
That's arguably cooler.
Yeah. It occurs to me that might actually be fun.
Man, now I need to get a parrot so I can sit there and teach it industrial songs. The Cockatoo's version of Nine Inch Nails.
Oh, it's too easy to visualize.
That's right.
So I've got a question. And this is a sideline, but it's about cats. So, Frank speaks a language, and he speaks a specific language. He does, and there are specific words for "I'm hungry," "I don't want to eat this," "I want to play," "I want to play," "Don't touch me," "I'm so glad that you're here," "Let's go to bed," "Let's wake up now," "Let's play." Like he's got a dialogue. "Oh, I'm glad you're home," "I'm angry you're home," "Cuddle me." He's got words. Now, here's something really interesting. Suffragette, good to see you. Suffer.exe. Something really fascinating is that there are certain like little feeds and stuff that you can watch where they talk about if you play your cat this sound, it's the mother's way of saying come here. So I went, okay, let's test this. And I played it. I had to play it a couple of times, and Frank jumps on the bed and he had that concerned look of, is everything okay? And what I was trying to think, and then there was another one that said, this one means this has come to me, and the other one was sit by me. Or I can't remember what it was, but Frank did those things. And what was really curious is that I'm sure there is a cat language. I'm sure of it. And how much of it is, oh, this is what cats say to humans, I don't know, versus this is what mother cat says to child cats. But my question is, how come they all speak the same language? And even when I replicate these things, it will often yield the thing it's supposed to yield. And this is what's fascinating, is that how come Frank, who has no contact whatsoever with a cat in Boston, how come they both speak the same language? Like, there's no way that Frank's grandparents had anything to do with East Coast cats. None. How did this happen? Like, why aren't we all instinctively speaking the same language, yet cats do? And they probably have sonar as well. Brett, what are your thoughts?
I think we do all speak a kind of common language in the same way that a cat does. Part of Art of Rock is discussing those similarities. We have, for example, there's an entire language of just our facial expressions, and those are pretty dang universal. It does not take long for you to meet someone or see someone you've never met and determine really quickly, do you want to fight or do you want to fuck? I mean, so I think what is being identified, if you will, is things that work across species, maybe. The ideas and whatnot that that you're conveying to your cat in this regard aren't alien to anything that has a social order. And I think probably that defines more commonalities of language and art than anything else.
Thank you. That's very interesting. I'll also mention that the comments are now going crazy. Whereas before we're talking about music, no one gave a fuck. As soon as we start talking about cats, everyone's got an opinion. Thank you, Brett. Alex, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing Brett said, that I think we have like a different um, what it means to cats to speak the same language to us is perhaps a bit less than what it means for humans to speak the same language, because I think there's a lot of things that humans, regardless where they come from, share in terms of communication and what things mean, and also even like mammals among each other, and sometimes even birds and mammals. Like there is a common language there, even though it's not like exactly like speaking the same words.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. I do need to learn the language of Frank though, but Ivan, what do you think with all of your meows and your tabby?
Yeah, the cats amongst themselves are in the wild. Cats in the wild, they don't meow. Meowing is something they reserve for us, or when they're really pissed off. Um, Cats amongst themselves, they communicate via like subvocalizations and body posture and which way they're
Telepathy.
looking, and in very likely telepathy. Also got to point out there is a wild difference between the current tabby, and like I've tended to, I've tended over the years to, just have various, you know, Siamese type cats as a general rule. I mean, I got my first one back in the early 90s, and he was a roommate, not a cat. And he made it very clear that he was not just a roommate, he was the roommate in charge. And, if he had something on his mind, he was going to mention it. Also, back then, if I went out and I was out too late, he would sit up on the recliner in the front room and wait for me to get home so that he could yell at me because I might have been dead in a ditch.
Frank does that because I got to work tonight at the LGBT center and I'll get home 10:30-ish. Frank will be at the window abusing me. As soon as he hears me come through the foyer gates, he'll start yelling at me and I'll hear him yelling at me. And it's not just that, it's like, I'm pissed and angry at you. You need to cuddle me right now. It better be a good damn cuddle. I want food. Okay, I kind of forgive you. You need to play with me. And that's the thing about Frank that's really hard, is that if I have a late shift, I've got to play with Frank for like half an hour at least, because he's got all of this energy in him. Like, I was freaking out. I didn't know what happened to you. I thought you were dead in a ditch. Now we've got to play and get rid of that energy. Anyway,
Yeah,
fascinating.
my gray one, he had a special friend of his, that she would come over to visit me, and he knew when her car was, you know, 10 blocks away. He was already in the window looking. Annie Jenny's on the way over, and she always does what I tell her to. But
Excellent.
also he was strange in that he really liked watching Frasier on TV. Like, if it was time for reruns to happen, he knew what time it was, and he would insist that the TV get turned on and put on the channel. Game over.
That's interesting.
And there was one night where he was in the other room, big like arched doorway sort of thing between me and the other room, and I was sitting there waiting for Frasier to start, and I looked at him and I was like, Zero, do you want to watch Frasier with me? and he leapt across the room onto the couch and just like parked. Because, like he understood fairly complicated topics.
This is very interesting because Frank, uh, I didn't think Frank could hear or cared about electronic sounds. But if
Ooh, yeah, no, their auditory range blows ours away.
yeah, well
They
he
can hear everything.
because if I watch something and there's an animal in it, specifically a cat, because I have to be careful about cat videos because Frank does get upset. Like he'll go, "What's going on? Is everything okay?" I don't know. We can talk about cats all day. Did you want to throw in any last conversations about cats before I change the subject? I'm sorry,
Okay,
that was
one
my
last
fault.
thing. My last Siamese, she discovered that she could watch big cat rescue videos on YouTube on the tablet, and it would occasionally get a little too intense for her. And she figured out she could just step on the tablet and it would stop.
Wow, ultimate control. Um, as another sideline, I would like to confess that I've Tubi has got Max Headroom the series on it, and if you get a chance, watch it. It's fucking great. It's this is the American one where they pulled some of the English cast, the original Max Headroom, the original Veronica Reporter, um, and it's really good because it's the true post-apocalyptic dystopian cyberpunk from the mid 80s. And some of the concepts of it are really good. Some of it's a little bit soapy, but if you want some inspiration, Max Headroom's great. If you're gonna watch it at all, watch the English version. G'day, Jen. 20 minutes. Yes, that shit is on Tubi. Just type in Max Headroom. 20 minutes into the future. And if someone could do me a favor and grab the YouTube version of the English version of 20 minutes into the future, the Max Headroom story, I think it goes for an hour or so. Brilliant. I watched it by accident on New Year's Eve. Was it 1984 going into 1985? I can't remember. It changed my fucking life. The soundtrack of that original is by Meteor from Ultravox. Great job. All PPG and not Fairlight, but something else, I think. But there's the everything about that. There it is. Thank you, Brett. So your homework is go and enjoy this. And this is definitely, yeah, this is definitely fuck off. Come on. Oh, will you stop? Hold on. Instagram's being nasty to me. No, you do this, you're gonna fucking crash. This is your homework. Um, uh, absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Everything about it, it's brilliant. It is so inspiring. Um, I guess I bring this up because I look uh I'm in a really weird place right now creatively. Like I'm having everything that's going on. Um and I'm having trouble focusing on I can't write music in hardships. For me, that's a myth. People say that hardships and all this shit make for better artistry. I absolutely disagree. I need a clear mind. And it's difficult when everything is psychologically screaming at me. It's difficult for my cerebral cortex to make sense of things and to make an idea. Because I need that in my process. I need order. I swim in chaos. I am chaos. I don't want to be chaos. I need order. And every time I do chaos, no one gives a shit. Trust me, look at my live streams. No one gives a shit. I need order. And this is a really yeah, I agree with you. Adapt. Writing in the aftermath of a hardship where my mind is putting everything together. is great. So I'm sure I'll be going through a very fertile time of composition shortly. But Max Headroom's fantastic because everything about it it's cyberpunk. I see hands go up as soon as I said Max Headroom. Alex, what do you want? What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's the same for me. I can't write or make anything if I'm at my lowest. I've read, I don't know if it's true, but I've read that the artist Van Gogh, even though he suffered from mental illness, his beautiful psychedelic paintings he painted when he was doing better, not worse. So yeah, it's the same for me. If I'm at my lowest, I can't do anything.
Absolutely. Brett, how do you feel about this?
Mostly the same. The what I'll add to that is there's a thing in me that will try to bring order back, and part of the way I do that is through music. What it ultimately means is, that's why I do things in X-Files, because when I'm in that state, it doesn't end up being something generally productive other than it becomes a practice session. And so I'll save that practice session. And, I may come back and jam with it later when I'm in a better headspace. And often that is the process for which songs that I write get made. But for me as well, part of that is taking on more of that personality where it's a dark character, it lives there, it's not the day-to-day me. So that gives it a bit more freedom, I think, at least it does for me. And yeah, when you're train wrecked, you're train wrecked. All you can do is start nailing the tracks back down.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that when you nail those tracks down, it makes a great banging sound, and you go, there's a good rhythm in that. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Brett. And thank you, Alex. Ivan, hit me with your amazing wisdom.
Yeah, I think the idea of the suffering artist is bullshit. Because, like, you just end up in a place where you can't do anything useful, at least. So screw that. Let's get back to a world where there's less suffering and more ability to actually do things. Also, we just finished rewatching Max Headroom. Gotta say,
The whole
that
series?
yeah,
Good on you.
loved it. That just took me back to the day.
And the clothing, man. I'm telling you.
Yes.
It's pre-industrial. It really and you look at what they're wearing, the whole thing said, okay, industrial culture, this is what you're going to be wearing to clubs up until the mid-90s when bloody The Matrix comes out and then blah, 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 blah.
Exactly.
Even the hair. Don't you mean zigzagly?
Yeah. And then also we just got done rewatching the old Sledgehammer TV show.
What's Sledgehammer?
Okay, you probably did not have it in Australia. It ran here in the US back in the mid 80s, and it was about a very over the top cop who kind of answered every question with more violence. And it is hilarious. Also,
when's
a
it
little
set?
uncomfortable.
When's it set?
80, I think they made it 85.
So it's set in the 80s.
Yes.
Is the soundtrack 80s? Does he wear mirrored aviators?
Oh, wait. The like theme song for it was written by Danny Elfman.
Wow.
Like right after he did the Pee Wee Herman movie.
Can we get a link?
Yes, I will find one.
And if you get a chance, Death Race, Death Race, the one that had Stallone in it, Death Race 2000, they did a sequel to it, and they shot it out at Las Vegas, Death Race 250 or 3000 or something. It's actually fucking amazing. it kind of starts, I don't know what the hell's going on here, but it is incredibly, Brett, what'd you just give me?
All the Sledgehammer
Okay,
episodes
thank you,
for 2
Brett.
seasons.
Okay, this is Sledgehammer. Thank you. Brett beat you to it. Sledgehammer, and I don't mean Peter Gabriel. Sorry, Ivan, you're still going. I interrupted you.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm done. I'm done.
I think it's really fun also to Death Race 2000. There's one after it. Suffer Docs Exy. And they might, it's like 5-10 years old. And it's very kind of Mad Maxy, but very, the corporation. Also the original Rollerblade. What's that called? Roller Dome? What's it called?
Rollerball.
Rollerball! The original one. That movie's brutal. A lot of these things are really great to help you get out of help you get out of it, to give you some sort of direction that is familiar, but that's a great place to start, because that's where I am right now. Okay. Also, one other thing I wanted to bring up was, so I found a new Eurorack company that's bloody amazing, and they're in Thailand, and they're called Takab, and they're super cheap. They're on Reverb. Unfortunately, well, the shipping's like $10 a unit, but if you buy several of them, it's $5 a unit. They're extremely well priced. And I want to get there's a couple of pieces of gear there that I'm kind of interested in. And yeah, it looks really great. They do a thing specifically called a pad, which I think is really brilliant. That's it. Thank you so much, Brett. Oh, they've got a website. Get out of here. Oh, that's good. You can actually they've got a device on there that I've been trying to build for yonks, which is like a set a pad thing, a passive thing that will bring down volume by this much, by 50%, by 85%, which in modular world is really handy. And it's also really handy because you might have a 10 volts range, but you only want to bring it down to 1 volt, and you don't want to rely on a knob because knobs change with heat. Whereas if it's a dedicated resistor line, it will most likely stay quite accurate. And they've just got a whole bunch of really bloody clever stuff. Bell says, yeah, I'm finally getting around to playing the remake of part 2. Yes. Okay, great. So anyway, there you go. Because we were talking about cheaper modular options recently, so I thought I'd throw that into the pile. Does anybody else want to throw anything else in here? Because I do have something else I'd like to talk about. Besides 80s manga. Alex, what's going on in your brain?
If you're importing from Thailand, maybe look what the customs are previously, because that can bite you in the ass.
Thank you very much. Anything in the United States, anything under $800. And I'm glad you bring that up. So yeah, customs. If it's under $800 from Thailand, it's there's no customs duty on it. Apparently, and also if you do get hit with customs, like when they deliver it to you, you have to pay them either with cash or check. You can't use a credit card. So you've got to have a fucking checkbook on you all the time. Jesus Christ. Option one is like everybody's loving these old movies. I need to get into more 80s stuff. Maybe it's because it feels so safe to me. And it's returning to the womb, but fascinatingly, I have found that my ability to handle scary or difficult content is hard. Like I can't watch movies that are emotionally or psychologically intense anymore because that part of me, although I will say if it's a World War II movie and they're murdering Nazis, I love that. I absolutely love that. But besides that, it's difficult, you know. And if the dog dies, I don't want to watch that shit. Alex, what are you thinking? I see your hand up.
I had something to say. Yes, even though I wasn't alive in the 70s or 80s, especially 70s movies feel like really comfortable for me.
Hmm.
I think it was like a time where it was like, it had something that like calms me down in a way modern movies don't.
Hmm. I wasn't alive in the 70s or 80s either. And February 16, I'm turning 24 for the 30th time. Um, but no, you're really right. There's such a difference in the culture, and it's not just the movie, it's not just the dialogue or the script or the cameras or the cuts, it's the soundtrack as well. And there's so many amazing, like the dystopian movies like Colossus, the movie about the supercomputer that takes over, or the China Crisis, or so many of the, the Red Peril movies, being the communist threat when I say Red Peril. Um, it's just great. And also, please remember, Australia were making some gems. Obviously, there's Mad Max, but before Mad Max, there was The Cars That Ate Paris. And there's some insane movies that came out of Australia. Also, England, Day of the Triffids. No one did dystopian hell like the English. And you know what? If you want a fun movie night, compare and contrast the horror of the difference between American 70s, 80s, and Remember the Day After, and then watch Threads. Compare the Day After to Threads. So Threads was an English post-apocalyptic nuclear war movie, which is fucking terrifying, versus the Day After, which is the American version, also Dawn's First Light, which is also fucking terrifying, also American. Compare and contrast American horror, psychological war, whatever, to English. It's fucking great. And remember to watch The Wicker Man, the original 1973 version of it. Dude, oh, that's the Day After. Ah, my God. What is Airwolf TV show? What the hell? Brett, what are you doing to us? What is this?
Airwolf was my 80s guilty pleasure. It
Okay.
is the theme song is 80s as it gets.
Okay.
It's done in synthesizers, and it's about a futuristic stealth helicopter with turbos.
It's
I
basically
mean,
Kit with in the air.
it is exactly that.
You know, I got to tell you, as soon as I saw the still on YouTube, I went, that's got a really good soundtrack, probably with orchestral hits in it.
No, it's no orchestral hits that I can
Ah,
remember.
does it have slap bass in it?
You just hear it.
Okay.
Your example of it is kit for the air is more accurate than not.
All right. Also, I'd like to extend a challenge to everybody. That's everybody watching this, every single one of you. And thanks for sticking around. At the end of this, I'm going to say something really political, and then I get deported. Um, I want you to write a song with orchestral hits. Me, political? Who would have guessed? Orchestral hits and slap bass. That's what I want you to do this week. You're going to do that. You're going to do that. Orchestral hits and slap bass. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to make you feel great. It will be the best. Oh, when the fucking wind blows, this is terrifying. Can somebody also, this is getting dark. Can someone also give me the URL for Threads? So Threads is an English, you guys know about Threads? Threads is possibly the most terrifying nuclear holocaust movie ever made, and it was set in Brixton, I think, or Sheffield or something. There she is, where Jen lives now. Oh, it's so fucked up, and it's got the most horrifying ending. Yeah, it's just fucked up. Really, 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 really fucked up. Um, and I think it was actually made by the British fucking council or something, had something to do with it or something. I don't fucking know. But it's just dark. Such a dark movie. Alex, what are your thoughts in your brain right now?
I forgot, sorry.
That's all right. When you let me know because and obviously the reason we're talking about all this crap is if you're finding it difficult to make music or your art, just go back to home base. It's okay to go back to home base, put on some Skinny Puppy Frontline Assembly, go back to home base, remember who you are, take a breath, regroup, attack when you're ready. Oh yeah, and look, if you want to put links to this stuff in here, and please do. I think we just need a fucking movie night. Diana, can you remind me when Adam does his movie nights? Chuck that in the link too, and yeah, I think we all need to feel better. Alex, your hands up.
Yeah, I had recently had a show. I thought that the question is why aren't there so many experimental movies nowadays than there were in the past? And I think, which is somewhat relieving, the answer is that many people that would have been making movies back in the day are now making video games or attempting to make video games.
That's interesting.
Because I think lots of the cool, weird stuff is now happening in indie video games instead of cinema, which I think is partly a shame, but also maybe a sign of the times.
That's really interesting. Firstly, if you can get Tubi, or you can't get Canopy, but if you can get Tubi, there's some fantastic indie, not really experimental, but they're indie films. I don't know if you can get Tubi or not, but they're fucking great. That's why you need a VPN, I guess. Is say, hey, I'm in Nebraska and I'm watching Tubi. Yes, sirree. And you got to do your American accent as well. Hey there, I'm watching Tubi. This is Carl, and I'm watching Tubi. Tubi. You're okay. I was going to say something fucking brilliant. Another thing that I really love. Oh, he's away this weekend. Thank you so much. Hold on, I'm just going to pass this on to everyone. Remnant, thanks. Links, please. I totally forgot what I was about to say. Something else I really want to get into as well is 80s manga. Like the Akira mid-late 80s golden era of anime because it was all hand fucking drawn. And that's one of the things that I'm not going to take anything away from modern manga that's not hand drawn, but and it's the same with watching a movie. What here is a shot of 10,000 people. Well, there's 10,000 people in that shot unless they use trick photography, but it's most likely there's a whole bunch of fucking people in that shot for them to get that shot. And that's what's brilliant. That's what's inspiring about that stuff. They had to get the shot. And excuse me, when you watch this 80s Japanese fucking Ghost in the Shell and all that shit, it's like they drew this. They fucking drew this. It's brilliant. Thank you, D.
The old onion skin method.
Sorry?
The old onion skin method.
What's that?
Where that was where the paper that we used, they would call it like onion skin because of how thin it was, so you could see through it and draw the next frame.
There you go. There you go. Intense stuff. I did also, if anybody else wants to jump in here because we're now really celebrating manga. If anybody else wants to add to it, there was something I did want to bring up, which is creating a scale. Maybe this is boring, I don't know. So it's really interesting. Alex, did you want to jump in before I start shooting my mouth off?
I think creating a scale, or maybe you just using a different scale than equal temperament, is really interesting, really fun, can get a lot of new emotion of your music out of your music, but it's not the first thing you do if you try to make music and try to explore different things, I think.
Mm.
Unfortunately, most music gear isn't set up for it, but if you have something that works with it, can be really great and interesting.
So Frank is currently saying to me, "Brrr, brrr." So I don't know what that means. He normally says that when he comes out. He's just been sleeping. I'm here. I want food. And whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter anymore because you have to pay attention to me. Don't touch me. Don't pick me up. Yes, Alex, I totally agree. Because as you know, I love talking about equal temperament and how much I hate it. So here's a thought. Frank always has something to add. What I like to do is figure out what the chords are. And I like kind of weird chords. And the next trick is the way I will build a scale. Let's just say there's 4 chords. I'll either take the 1/5 of each chord, or I'll take all the notes used in that chord. And in doing so, and let's just say there's a G major, and a B flat major. Well, that's really weird because G major's got B natural, but B flat major has got B flat. So already we've created a chord that's got B and B flat. And we're going to assume that there's C in there as well. So the cool thing about it is that we've just created a scale that has got a cluster of 3 semitones. And we can take that a step further and say, therefore, G can either be G major or G minor. Understand what I'm saying? When you start taking these ideas and these concepts, you can start building some really, really fascinating chords. And if you play a solo or if there's a bass line, you use the notes as per derived in this scale. And I saw a thing recently where they said Hans Zimmer invented this scale for Dune. He did not invent that fucking scale. I used that exact scale in 1992 because I stole it from Peter Gabriel, who stole it from Ali Khan, the singer, in the last Temptation of Christ Passion Saucer soundtrack. And it's a traditional bloody Pakistani chord. That on closer and it's not a fucking harmonic minor. Fuck off. It's something else. And you come up with these chords by building a scale. And then you let the scale redefine the chords that you're using. For example, in the scale, one of the scales I love using, which is really similar, and I also stole it from Kate Bush. Everything gets stolen. It's all about Kate Bush. F minor exists and E major exists. And they're 2 really weird chords. If you hit F minor with the G with the A flat or G sharp on the top, and then slide into an E major that's also got the G sharp A flat on top, that will sound familiar to you because that's the same chord progression Hans Zimmer used in the opening for Blade Runner 2049. Bum, major F minor. Text comes up to talk about replicants. Bum, resolutions to the E major. These 2 chords exist in this scale. And it's the most beautiful scale. And you can just start inventing scales. That was the rant that obviously no one gives a shit because everybody's still fucking talking about anime. Brett, help.
So the direction my brain started going with on this was, well, what if you just literally took an oscillator and said, throw the entire music theory out the window, pick a frequency, and then just pick another frequency. And now that's your scale.
I love that.
Maybe you give them notes that aren't A, B, C, D, and E.
I
You
love
know?
that.
Maybe you start from the other end of the alphabet.
I love that. Or meow, 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 per meow. So here's another fun thing if we're going fuck equal temperament altogether, is that I saw a thing that had the astrology lined out in a circle, and the circle was reflecting where these things fell on the equator. To which I said, that's an octave and there are scales because there's 12 notes in there. Each house represents a note, and in that we have now defined a scale. So what happens? Are we getting into the music of the universe incidentally here? By the way, just so you know, there is only one place in the universe where you can see the zodiac. Earth. The zodiac is an interstellar map to get you back to Earth. So, 50,000 years, because the zodiac is how fucking old? Our former deep space-faring civilization, which there's nothing left of except a dark night, which is still going around the world. Yeah, fucking A. We use the zodiac, because if you move 30 light years that way, the zodiac now looks different. Everything's misaligned, so therefore we know that we are the fuck over there. And does it ever blow your mind that if the Milky Way was the size of a 12-inch record, Alpha to Centauri, and Earth's in that groove, Alpha Centauri is like, it's not even a groove away. It's right fucking there. The columns of creation, they might be 2 or 3 grooves over. It's fucking immense when you think about it from the perspective of music. Alex, what do you think about everything in the galaxy right now?
I'm thinking about that. I misunderstood your original point. I thought you were talking about making unique tunings for your scale.
Whatever, I'm shitting the shit.
But I think you were talking about just picking the notes, which is different but also related. But yeah.
Well, no, yeah, it's totally fun. Go for that scale I was talking about before. That's got the B major with the B. I'm sorry, the G major with the B natural in it, and the B flat major with the B flat in it. You might do something really cool, and you might say, Rob, I'm always transcendent. Fuck you. You might go something where if you hit the B, it's gonna it will bend down to the B flat. So that's a part of the scale, like the Indian raga idea that it's not just that note, it's da. Every time you hit that note, it dips. So if you hit that chord, it's going to go every time. I don't know, man. What would that do? That's why we need polyphonic aftertouch, which is why MIDI 2.0 is required in your studio. You're welcome. Okay. Gee, that was a fuzzer. We tried though. Does anybody else want to bring anything else, or should we raid on over to MTV TV?
One of the things that we were talking about earlier, that I don't know that we really kind of touched on, was the pushing these songs forward a little bit. I was talking about how it's just I guess it's kind of a frustration of the process, where personally I've got like 4 that I'm working on right now, and you'll chip each one forward a little bit, and then you'll set them down and come back to it, and then it's like, man, I really hate that first one. And it's like the challenges of making your sound kind of making things sound like they belong together from one to another, so that it reduces the shock, I guess.
I really agree with you. Sorry, did I just cut you off?
No.
It really is like, this is why I always come back to, maybe it's part of the reason that I'm getting into the max headroom and because it makes me it helps me come up with a foundation for which I can build an album on. And the album might end up sounding nothing like that. Gee, I don't know. But it's so true that Like, how many times do you listen back to a song and you go, the problem with it is it's too complex and there's too much shit going on. And there's like, because it doesn't work, I'm just going to add orchestral hits and slap bass. And before you know it, you are, yeah, and that's my problem is that I'll go, it doesn't work. I'll put, I've got all these synthesizers, I'll add all this shit. And before you know it, that idea that when you go back and listen to it, it's like, it was fine, man. And it's difficult. This is something I'm finding really interesting about social media is that I have increasingly have this expectation that what I do has to be the best thing ever in the whole wide world that I've ever done and I could ever do. And it's so funny that that is so, it's so ridiculous because it's not just the raw idea, it's also the execution of the idea. It is the sincerity and the drive and the push in the idea. It's not just the baseline, it's what you do with it. And, we were just talking about, oh, well, every time you hit that note, you're actually going to bend down a semitone and then come back up. Do shit like that. Like, go, you know what? I am writing today as if I am writing the soundtrack for the original Max Headroom example. And you might actually rip that movie off YouTube. You might get a 4-minute sequence, for example, when he's in the wasteland with blank reg, and it's all very dystopian. And you might just loop a minute of that, and you say, that is the soundtrack that I want to create. That's it. Maybe that'll help. And indeed, I am doing something similar to that with, Ice Planet 9000. Because it's such a wild time at the moment that it is difficult to focus on the inner voice when all of these external voices are screaming at you. It's hard to find the humor. It's hard to find the focus,
No,
So I hope that helps. So, Brett?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, no, I do. In fact, doing that same sort of thing, I was talking to Rob about one of the tracks earlier, probably a couple weeks ago. Well, wouldn't you know, I went and I made a whole nother version of it where I stripped everything else that I had built on this thing out, went back to the core of it, and now I've got two that I'm sitting there, I'm battling both of them. I'm like, now which one gets to be the official?
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Dude, that's so interesting. Yeah, you guys are talking about hockey now because I talked about pucks. But yeah, that's interesting. I try not to sometimes I think that there's a certain amount of songs that I can do at once. Because it then starts gumming up the work. I've mentioned this before, after the last Angelspit album, that came out 6 months ago, I didn't think I could write another album. But it was after one Art of Rock session, and I thank you for that. Within 3 days, there were 6 ideas. Only like 3 or 4 of them got used. But now I'm up to track number 7. And interestingly, I've put down phonal vocals on 2, and everybody on the Patreon, I'm sorry, it's all Ice Planet 9000 that I'm dropping. I did drop an Angelspit track recently, but it's like you said, Brett, they're just not ready. And this is the other thing, is the operation in my mind that says, yeah, the track's good, it's ready, is that broken? Has that become damaged because of everything? I don't know.
For me, I don't think it's broken so much as it's a competition with myself. I'm sitting there. I'm literally. I'll get to a place where tonight I'm happy with where I got on track 4, for example, and it's here. And then, all right, cool. That's a good place to stop. I come back the next day, hop in the studio, go through the active tracks I'm working on, and I'll get to track 1, and I'll be like, man, why is it so tinny, or why is it so whatever compared to what I did over here? And then I'll go through the entire effect stack and everything else, and I'll try to, I'll do the diagnostic thing. And it's like, well, I'm not doing anything technically wrong. It's just my ear.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, on that, I've had a revelation recently, as I have mentioned a little, that I've got ringing in my ears, but it's not actually in my ears, it's in my head. And I've done research on tinnitus because it's my dread to get tinnitus. I take such good care of my ears. It's hypertension caused from stress. So sometimes the ringing is here, sometimes it's over here. If it was tinnitus, it would be all the time. So I have, it's not tinnitus. And in fact, at the moment, I woke up this morning, no ringing at all. It's very curious that when I listen to music that's got a sharp or a shiny or a well-pronounced high end, it's like, I can't really do this right now. Which is really interesting because I met this guy who is a mixer, and he said he puts a high pass on a low pass, and he will often pull content above 10K, 6K out if it doesn't need to be there. Because I'm all about, the shine and everything. And my thing is that for me, the frequencies that are ringing are around about 10K, Rob. Although they move sometime, but at the moment it's nothing. And the frequency that's inside my head is really weird because it's, I don't know, it's weird, but it ain't there. It hasn't, comes and goes. But my thing is that you always leave the subs. There's only one oscillator below 80 or 100 and your kick. So whatever the baseline is, it's one oscillator. It's not two oscillators. It's one oscillator and a kick. And the reason is because the subs are only focusing on two waveforms. Keep it simple for the subs. Then you can get as complex as you want. But this guy said how it's the same thing with the high end and the twitters. Because if your base is too solid, if there's too much information going in like below 180, it's going to make the mix brittle because all of the power of the amp, the headphone, doesn't matter what it is going into creating bass, which means the power is being drawn out of the high end and. And the guy said it was the same for the other end because it takes a lot of energy to move a speaker this much, but it also takes a lot of energy to move it this fast, which is the high end. So if you go, okay, well, those pads sound great, but they don't really, because there's a low pass already on those pads, they don't need anything above 5K. Take it out. Your hi-hat, it's great, but you don't really need information that's way up there. There might be one or two instruments that are filling the upper zone. Also, being aware of the high-end information that's in a reverb or a chorus or a delay, because most reverbs in a natural situation do not actually have a high end because the high end's the first thing to get sucked up in a room or whatever. And my other thing is I always make things a bit more shiny. I always EQ them up. I'm learning to EQ that out because if you don't, all of the different frequencies from everything else starts adding these little bumps, and those bumps are not comfortable. And for people who have hearing difficulty, it can be painfully disheartening. Also, increasingly, I don't think speakers can fucking create that shit. Alex, I also just realized you brought up a really great point about experimental movies that I didn't really touch on. A similar thing with experimental music as well. And I also just updated my Bandcamp. So I'm buying more shit off Bandcamp, which feels good. Did anybody else want to jump in there? Thank you so much for all the chats that are going on in here. They're great. I really appreciate this. Yeah. Did anyone want to bring anything up? And also adapt. That's a reason that I have an individual person who I use for mastering. And the guy I use is Colin, who's at the Cell Studio. And he's very well priced. And I want to, firstly, I want a human to do it. Secondly, I want to support. And thirdly, I want to support him. Obviously, he does a bloody good job. So Colin at the Cell Studio he's fucking great. Or if not him, someone else. You know, fucking use those mastering people. I've learnt from working with binaurals that 750 cycles may have some tinnitus. That would be interesting. That can ease tinnitus. That's weird because 750, 7.5K is exactly where the murder sits. Thank you, Brett. Bloody awesome. Wow, he's got a look at that.
Yeah, his site's actually pretty badass. This is the first time I've seen it.
It was Colin. Yeah. Good. Anya adapt. Yes, awesome. So with this in mind, did anybody else want to bring anything else up, or do we want to bail on over to get some bloody MTV TV? Let's do that. All right. Well, thanks for being part of this. This is good fun. Every week we're here. This is the Art of Rock. Same time, same channel, blah, blah, blah. If you haven't followed the Angelspit bloody YouTube and Twitch, please go do it. If you've got $3 a month and you want to keep us going, Angelspit's Patreon. Thank you. Oops, something went wrong. I hate you so much. God, I hate computers. The Angelspit's new album is called Red End. Patreon subscribers get a free coffee. Woo! Wednesday night, we're all meeting up again for Vulture Culture. Thank you, Jen. Have a bloody good weekend too. Vulture Culture stuff is awesome. I'm wearing the shirt. Just brilliant synthesis stuff. Angelspit's Discord is there. I don't use it as much as I should. I really suck. If you are concerned about what is going on, join Indivisible. Yeah, join it. And also keep an eye on the Facebook group, Alt National Parks Service. Good fun. Rezi's normally here co-hosting, and here's Rezi stuff because it's great. I am going to punch this software in a minute. But now we are going to, just actually before we do, a huge thank you to everyone who was here today. Thank you so much. Go listen to this music. It's fucking great. We're going to rate to MTV TV. And if you're not on Twitch, yeah, thanks, Rob. Watch the earlier Art of Rock episodes. They're all on bloody magic internet land. That's where we're about to go, is MTV TV, Twitch. And it's great. Diana, if we could get that frickin' thing raid going, let's raid on over. We're going to hang back here and have a chat-ski. And it's just too fantastic. How's that raid going? Oh, yeah. How's the raid going?
We are rated.
We are rated. All right.